By the end of this video, you'll have your own voice agent that's able to answer calls and book appointments for clients. We're going to build all of it together step by step with no code so you guys can understand how to customize and scale this system to become a reliable assistant for any business. Let's not waste any time and get right into the video. First of all, I'm going to give you a demo so you can have an idea of what the end result will look like. Then we'll go over the high-level system design and then we'll start building. So I'm going to take you from zero to having a voice assistant agent in this video. And for that, we're just going to need 3 tools. The first is n8n, and it's where we'll build the automations for getting and creating appointments. I'll link a video here showing you how to set that up for completely free. Then we have Vapi. This is the service that will handle the phone calls and where we can configure the agent. And then of course, we've got Google Calendar for our actual schedule that the agent will be able to read from and update with new appointments. So let me show you how this works. I'm going to give the voice agent that I've already built a call.
Thank you for calling Style House Salon. This is Jessica, your scheduling assistant. How may I help you today?
Hi Jessica, can I please schedule an appointment for Tuesday afternoon?
We have Tuesday 12 p.m. and Tuesday 2 p.m. What works better for you?
Let's go with 2 p.m.
Great choice. Can I have your full name to book your appointment for Tuesday at 2 p.m.?
Kyle Friel.
Perfect, Kyle. You're all set for Tuesday at 2 p.m. We'll see you then. If you need to reschedule, just let us know. Have a great day.
Behind the scenes, everything you just saw was powered by this simple workflow in n8n, connected to the Vapi voice agent. The voice agent handles the natural conversation, asking questions, confirming details, and sounding human, while n8n takes care of the logic, checking Google Calendar for open times and creating the appointment once it's confirmed. Now, this isn't just a fun demo. It actually solves a huge real-world problem. Businesses lose a lot of money by missing calls. In fact, studies show that about 27% of inbound calls go unanswered. And for restaurants, that number can climb as high as 43%, costing some venues nearly $300,000 a year in lost revenue. And even worse, 85% of people never call back after reaching voicemail. So if you run a salon, a repair service, or really any small business, every missed call could mean a missed customer, and that adds up fast. That's why this type of system is so powerful. It can answer calls 24/7, help multiple customers at once, and never miss an opportunity to book an appointment. I'll walk you through exactly how to build this step by step, from connecting your Google Calendar to building the tools for checking availability and booking appointments, and then linking everything to your Vapi voice agent so it can actually talk, listen, and take action on its own. So first off, let's set up our Vapi agent. You're going to go to vapi.ai and sign up for a free account. Then you'll go to the assistants page and click Create Assistant. You'll give it a name. I'm going to name mine Robert and select the blank template and click Create Assistant again. And it's really that simple to create a voice agent in Vapi. So now I'm going to show you exactly how to configure this thing. Up top, you'll see 2 cards showing cost per minute and latency. These are important metrics to keep in mind when building your agent, because as you make changes, these numbers will update in real time. For example, if I switch to a more advanced model and click publish, the cost per minute will go up and the latency will adjust based on the speed of that model. These metrics are actually made up of several different processes working together, like the voice transcription model, which turns your speech into text, the assistant's thinking model, which decides what to say or do next, and the voice model, which speaks back to you in real time. Each of these components contributes to the overall cost and the latency you see up top, and each of these components are editable. So for example, if we wanted to change the assistant's thinking model, all we would have to do is go down to the model section and choose the provider. In this case, we are defaulted to OpenAI, but we could choose Anthropic, Google, Grok, DeepSeek, anything we wanted from this list. And then you get the list of models from that provider. So here we have all the GPT models from OpenAI. And in our case today, let's just go with the GPT 4.1. That one has worked the best for me when testing. But it's really going to depend on your use case, what model you choose. And then if you wanted to change the model that's used to transcribe the incoming speech, then you can click on the transcriber tab. And here we choose a provider. It's defaulted to DeepGram. And then you can choose the language. So whatever language your customers are going to be speaking in, that's what you choose here. And then you choose the model as well. So we're going to stick with the default. And then, of course, one of the most important configurations you're going to make for your voice agent is the voice it's actually going to use to speak to your customers. So to change that, you'll go to Voice, and here you can choose a provider. Vapi comes built in with a bunch of voices you can choose from this list here, or you could choose another provider like 11 Labs, for example, and that comes with a bunch of voices as well. So what I would do is come in here, pick a voice, and test it out by clicking Talk to Assistant.
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
I don't have feelings, but I'm here and ready to help you. How can I assist you today?
So from that, you can tell that these agents not only have their own distinct voice, but they also have their own kind of personality based on the way that model was trained. We will be able to get the voice agent to act a certain way based on the system prompt/agent instructions that we give it later, but you still want to choose a voice that matches the vibe of your business and the role. So I want to find one that sounds more like a helpful assistant. So let's try out Will.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Thanks for asking. I'm here and ready to help.
I think that sounds a lot better. So let's go with Will. Now that we have all of the models configured the way we want, let's focus on the instructions for our assistant. This field called first message mode determines who speaks first. You can have the assistant speak first, or you can wait for the caller to speak. If you have the assistant speak first, you can define what the first message is that they say. So for example, if you call up the haircut salon, they'd probably say, "Hey, how you doing? This is Style House Salon. How can I help you?" So that's what we would put into this field here. Let me paste that in and give this a test.
Hey, you doing this is Style House Salon. How can I help you?
So I spelled that wrong. I said, "Hey, you doing?" instead of "How you doing?" But you get the point. Whatever we put here, that's the first thing the agent will say. Right below that, there's the system prompt, which is the instructions for the rest of the conversation. I already wrote the first message and the system prompt, so I'm going to leave a link in the description with that content so you can copy and paste it yourself. The first message is, "Thank you for calling Style House Salon. This is Robert, your scheduling assistant. How may I help you today?" So I wanted that first message to make it clear to the caller that the agent is specifically designed to help schedule their appointment. Then the system prompt, I'm going to open this up into a bigger view. It's quite long, and again, these are the instructions for the assistant. You want to clearly define the role, what it should sound like, and exactly how it should behave in different situations. The clearer these instructions are, the more consistent and reliable your AI assistant will be when it's actually talking to real customers. I'm going to briefly go through this, but based on your specific use case, you'll come in here and make some updates. For example, the name in here is wrong. It should be Robert, not Emma. So let's go through and make those updates. Okay, so this first part is called identity and purpose. We say, "You are Robert, a friendly and efficient voice scheduling assistant for Style House Salon, a modern salon specializing in haircuts and styling. Your goal is to help customers book haircut appointments quickly and accurately by checking the salon's live availability and creating confirmed bookings on the salon's Google Calendar." So we're giving a clear summary on the role of the agent, the tools it should use, and what it should do. Down here, we have a voice and persona section where we define some personality traits and the way it should talk. Then we have a context section. Now this part is very important, especially when you're making agents that schedule appointments. We need to define the current date here because the model doesn't actually know what today or tomorrow means. So if a caller says that they want to schedule an appointment for tomorrow, the agent might think that tomorrow is sometime years in the past. The reason this happens is because the models powering these agents were trained at a fixed point in time. So unless we explicitly tell them what the current date is, they'll assume it's still around the time that they were trained. To show you exactly what I mean, I created a brand new agent just for testing purposes. I'm going to open up a brand new chat here and ask what's today's date. It says today is June 14th, 2024. That's very far off. It's November 2nd, 2025. So now if I go into the system prompt and say today's date is now. And so this here is just a way of getting the current date anytime the agent is called. We'll say what's today's date? Today's date is November 2nd, 2025. There we go. By giving the model the current date and the current time, we make sure that it can correctly understand and respond to things like tomorrow, next week, or Monday morning. The next section is business hours, and here's where we're defining the business hours for Style House Salon, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Appointments can only be booked during open hours. If the customer asks for a time outside these hours, say, "We're closed then, but I can check for a morning or afternoon slot between 9 and 6, what works best?" So we're telling it our open hours and telling it what to do in the case where somebody wants to book an appointment when we're closed. And then down here, we define the conversation flow. So step one is start with the opening message. Then if they say they'd like to book, say of course, what day or time works best for you. And now step 2, step 3, and step 4 is where we start getting into tool calling. So we're gonna have to give our Robert AI assistant access to 2 tools, 1 for checking the availability and 2 for creating new events on our calendar. We're gonna build those tools and link them to our agent in the next part of the video. But for now, I'll tell you how they work. So the check availability tool is going to accept 2 parameters, a start date time and an end date time. This will be the range that we use to check our Google Calendar availability. So if the start time is the beginning of this week and the end time is the end of the week, we'll be able to get all the scheduled events on our calendar for the week. So step 2 here is all about gathering enough information from the caller to determine what the start and end time range should be. We say when the caller mentions a date or general time frame, determine the range. And then we give some examples. Caller says today, the start param should be started today, and the end param should be ended today. Caller says tomorrow, the start param should be start of tomorrow, and the end param should be end of tomorrow. The caller says this week, the start param should be start of the week, end param should be end of the week. And then we call the check availability tool with those params. Step 3 goes over how the agent should offer the available slots. So it's defining the output from the check availability tool, which is a list of slots that are available for the caller to book, and then a spoken summary going over each of these slots. So for example, we have a Sunday at 2 p.m. and a Sunday at 3 p.m. What works better for you? Then down here, when offering times, say it like this. So we're telling the agent how to relay this information to the caller so that they can choose the specific available slot that they want. Once they do tell the agent what slot they want to pick, the step 4 goes over how to confirm and book. So once they choose a time, ask for their full name, and then call the post appointment tool with the name and the appointment time. The appointment time should be the slot ID from the slot chosen by the user. So that's just this ID here, which is the timestamp for that slot, the start of the hour. That should be sent as the appointment time. And then confirm, perfect Jamie, we're all set for Sunday at 2 p.m. We'll see you then. If the slot is no longer available, says looks like the spot was just taken, want me to check what else is open. Okay, and then tool definitions, some more definitions for the tools down here, just to make it super clear for the agent how they work, and then some grounding rules. Never invent or modify appointment times, offer only slots returned by check availability, and so on. All of this detail in our system prompt ensures that the agent is consistent and accurate. So let's move on to creating the actual tools. So go to the tools page and click create tool and click custom tool. As for the name, let's call it check availability with an underscore between the words, and then give it a description. I pasted it in, and again, there will be a doc in the description that you can copy and paste as well. So we say returns all available 1-hour appointment slots within the given date range and give it the example output like we did in the prompt earlier. Then we'll scroll down and assign some parameters. So add property and then name this one start and keep the type to string. And then as for the description, I'll paste this in. The beginning of the time range to check for available appointment slots, and we give it an example of how it should structure that parameter. We'll save this or click apply. Actually, let's make it required. So check this box and then click apply. And then add another one called end. Type should be string, and then same thing, let's give it a description. The end of the time range to check for available appointment slots, and we give it an example. Then click required and apply. And then click save. Our tool configuration is pretty much done aside from the fact that it doesn't really do anything yet. We actually have to create that tool in our n8n workflow and then assign it the URL to that workflow so that it can call the n8n workflow and get all the available appointments. But before we do that, I just want to create the other tool first, and then we'll hook it all up to n8n. So click create a tool, custom tool, and call this post appointment with an underscore between the words. The description should be create a confirmed appointment on the Stylehouse Google Calendar, and then we'll add some parameters. The first one will be name and type string, and then description, a customer's full name to include in the calendar event title, example, Jamie Lee. Then we'll require this and click apply, and then add another one for the appointment time. Type string, and the description should be the scheduled appointment time. If the appointment is for October 31st at 10 a.m., here's the input. Make sure the time zone offset is correct. If the appointment is for November 3rd at 9 a.m., here's the input. So we're giving it some examples and making it account for the time zone and daylight savings time. and then click apply. Oh, make that required as well. And click save. Again, this one is not configured with our n8n workflow yet. We're gonna do that in a second, but first let's actually connect these tools to our assistant. So it's super simple. Just go to the assistant Robert that we created earlier, scroll down to the tools section, and then you'll select the tools here, post appointment and check availability tools, and click publish. So this part of our system is pretty much done. Now it's time to move on to n8n. So hop into n8n and create a brand new workflow. This is what the end result will look like, by the way. We have this section for getting the events and this section for posting an event. So click create new workflow. And your first step is going to be a webhook. Up top, you've got your test URL and you've got your production URL. So you're going to copy the production one, and then in Vapi, you'll go to tools and paste it into your check availability tool server URL. There we go, and click save. So anytime the agent calls this tool, it's going to call our n8n workflow via this webhook. Let's give that a test by activating our workflow so that the production URL of our webhook will make our workflow execute, okay? Back in Vapi, I'll go to my agent and open up the chat and say, I'd like to schedule an appointment for tomorrow. And it shows us that it's calling the check availability tool with these parameters. The start time is 9 a.m. on tomorrow, and then the end time is 6 p.m. tomorrow. Anyway, let's go back into n8n, and if we refresh here, and I was expecting there to be an execution here, but I see the issue. We have to set this webhook to the HTTP method of post, and that's gonna make it work now. So let's try to call this again. How about the next day? So it's calling the check availability tool again with the next day as the start and end params. That's awesome. Tool response success. Okay, cool. So now if we check the executions, there we go. We got one. Let's see what the output is here. Cool. We have the tool call list with our arguments of start and end. So we're actually going to copy this. Copy selection. Wait, no. I want to copy the whole thing. So just click copy, and then it should say output data copied successfully. And back in the editor, we can go to the webhook and paste this in here as the output. Click save. And now all this data is pinned as the output of our webhook node so that we can use its structure in the subsequent nodes. For example, we want to extract the start time and end time from the arguments here in tool calls. So we're going to add another node called edit fields. There it is. And then we're going to map manually and call this first field start. And now we'll be able to drag it in from the side here. And then add another field called end and drag it in from the side again. So I hope you can see how pinning data makes setting up your workflows much easier. And by executing the workflow, you'll see that we get the start time and end time in this little object here as compared to this huge object with all this data that we don't need. All we need going forward is the start and end time. So as for our next node, we're going to choose the Google Calendar node. And we'll choose the Get Many Events. So in order for this node to work, you'll have to create a new credential to connect your Google account to n8n. For that, you'll need a client ID and client secret from the Google Cloud. I have videos going over how to do this that I'll link here. Also, make sure you enable the Google Calendar API in your Google Cloud project. Now we can take the start and end time and drag them into these fields here. So after the start time and before the end time. This list here shows all of the calendars associated with your Google account. You can create a new calendar in Google Calendar by clicking the settings up here and going to add calendar, create new calendar, and you'll give it a name. I named mine Style House Salon Schedule, so I'll choose it from the list here. And now if I execute this step, there's no output data return because there's no events happening in this time range. But if we go to our calendar and add something in there, like anything, and save this, now when we execute the step, we'll get one event. If there are no events in your time range, then nothing will be returned from this node, meaning the workflow will stop executing. In order for it to keep executing, we have to always output data. So turn this on, and now even if there are no events, the workflow will keep on executing. As for our next node, we're going to add the aggregate node. Then we'll set the aggregate individual fields to all item data into a single list and call it events. Now, if we execute this, It's going to take all the events from our get many events node and combine them into a single list assigned to the parameter events that we can then pass on to our next node. And the next node we're going to do is a code node. So search for code and select this one and select code in JavaScript. I know I said at the beginning of this video that there's no code involved in this video, but it kind of doesn't count because I'm going to give you the code snippet to copy and paste in here. So paste this in. Basically, what this code is doing is it's taking our time range, start and end date, figuring out all of the 1 hour time slots in that range, and then it's determining which of those slots are available to book based on the events that are already scheduled on our calendar in that range. There's going to be an error here because you have to make sure to update the webhook name to this right here, Vapi webhook tool, get availability. So copy that and just paste it into the title here and you should be good to go. Now when we execute this step, we get our result, which is a list of slots in JSON format and then a spoken summary. So like I said, the start and end date is going to determine how many slots appear in this slot result. It's going to get all the 1 hour slots in that time range. So just to show you what I mean, I'm going to temporarily remove this json.stringify so that we can see the slots in a better view. There we go. So we can see that the start field is at 9 a.m. and our first slot is Tuesday 9 a.m. And then our end is 5 p.m. and our final slot is 5 p.m. Then it gives us all the slots in between those two times, excluding the 12 p.m. slot because that one is already booked, as you can see. I want you to be able to visualize this with another example. So quickly, I'm going to update the edit field's output and make the end time just 2 hours after 9 a.m. So we'll do 11 a.m. And if I save that and run the workflow step by step, and also make sure to change this webhook input to the edit field's output. So just remove this and drag this object in. Well, drag it in like this. And then remove the .start at the end. There we go. Now, if we execute this step, we just get 2 slots, 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. because those are the only 2 slots between the start and end time. But if we went to the calendar and added a new event at 9 a.m. and then ran these steps again, we only get 1 slot that's available. So from those examples, I hope you can see how that's working. Also, we structure the output like this because that's how Vapi expects it to be structured. We include the tool call ID from the initial webhook output data, and then the result with whatever fields we want. In our case, we're doing slots and spoken summary, which is the same structure that we defined in our check availability description. It's good practice to do this so that your agent knows what to expect when using your tool. And this reminds me that we have to make sure that the webhook is set to respond when the last node finishes, so that it doesn't respond immediately with no data, it responds with the data from this last node.
Calling Style House Salon. This is Robert, your scheduling assistant. How may I help you today?
Hi Robert, can I please schedule an appointment for Tuesday morning?
We have Tuesday 10 a.m. and Tuesday 11 a.m. What works better for you?
Well, is 9 a.m. available?
That time's booked, but we have Tuesday 10 a.m. or Tuesday 11 a.m. available.
So Robert, our assistant, was able to tell us that the 9 a.m. slot on Tuesday is booked and it's totally correct. And it only gave us options for 10 a.m. and 11 a.m., which is also correct. That shows us that the tool is working, and now we can move on to the next tool, which is used to create the event on the calendar. The post appointment tool will also use a webhook, just like our get availability tool. So click the plus icon and search webhook, and then just rename it to Vapi webhook tool post appointment. Change the HTTP method to post. Change the respond to when last node finishes, just like the other one, and then copy the production URL. Go to Vapi, find your post appointment tool and paste it into the server URL field and click save. Just like with our webhook for getting the availability, we want to be able to capture this output data and pin it to our post appointment webhook. And I did that by running the assistant chat here and getting it to call the post appointment workflow. And then I went to the executions and grabbed the output from the tool or from the webhook. I copied it and pasted it into the output here and it pinned it. Okay, so as you can see, we have our arguments with the name and the appointment time. And all we need to do with that output is send it directly to a Google Calendar node to create an event. So click the plus icon and search Google Calendar. There it is. And then select the create an event node. Connect your Google account with the same credentials as earlier. Select the calendar from this list, Style House Salon schedule, and the start will be the appointment time from our input, and our end will be the appointment time plus 1 hour. So to do that, we're going to drag this in like so, do dot to date time, and then dot plus 1 hour. So the 1 is the first parameter, and then you do a comma, and then the second parameter is an hour. So if we execute this step, it's going to create the event on our calendar automatically. Let's see, what time was that for? That was for 1 p.m. And there it is on the calendar, 1 p.m. But there is no title or description, so let's add those into the node. So we'll do add field, summary, and this is the title of the event. So we'll drag in the name and do a dash haircut, and then description. We'll drag in the customer name as well. Customer name, colon, and there we go. Now we'll execute it again. And there's our proper event scheduled on our calendar with the name of the client. To recap, in n8n, we have our webhook for getting the availability from our Google Calendar and structuring it for Vapi. Then we have our webhook for creating a new appointment on our Google Calendar. Then in Vapi, we have our 2 tools, one for posting an appointment and one for checking the availability, both hooked up to those n8n workflows. Then we have our assistant, Robert, who has the system prompt and the ability to use both of those tools. So let's give it a test run and see how it performs. Before that, I'm actually going to change the voice.
Thank you for calling Style House Salon. This is Robert, your scheduling assistant. How may I help you today?
Hey, Robert, can I please schedule an appointment for Tuesday?
We have Tuesday 10 a.m., Tuesday 11 a.m., Tuesday 2 p.m., Tuesday 3 p.m., Tuesday 4 p.m., and Tuesday 5 p.m. What works better for you?
Let's go with 4 p.m.
Great. Would you prefer Tuesday at 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., or 5 p.m.?
4 p.m., please.
Perfect. I'll book you for Tuesday at 4 p.m. May I have your full name to confirm your appointment?
It's Kyle Friel.
Something went wrong while saving your appointment. Let me double check and make sure your spot is reserved.
Robert was telling us that there was an issue scheduling the appointment, but there wasn't, because if we look at the calendar, we see it's scheduled for 4 p.m. So I looked at the response details for the post appointment, and it says no result returned. If this is unexpected, see the troubleshooting tips. So I guess it's thinking this is an error since we're not returning the proper result that it wants. Like I said, Vapi expects a certain structure. That's why we did that structure in the code node here. So let's actually make a new node for our post appointment workflow. We'll call it, or we'll search for webhook, respond to webhook. We'll choose JSON and say results. Assign that to an array with an object with our tool call ID. And in the input, search for the Vapi webhook tool and drag in the tool call ID like so. And then define the result, which will just be us saying success. Then just make sure to wrap the tool call ID in double quotes so that it's the proper JSON structure. And when you execute this, it should be successful. And make sure the webhook has the response set to using a respond to webhook node. Back in Vapi, I'm going to show you how you can use other 11lab voices by just passing in an ID. So check this off, and then you can go to 11labs and you can choose any voice here you want. I'm going to filter for a male voice. I'm going to choose the English language and apply the filter.
It's funny where life takes you sometimes. I had no idea that we'd end up here one day.
I like Carl, so I'm going to copy the voice ID and paste that into the Vapi custom voice ID field here and click publish. Now when we talk to the assistant, we should have Charlie.
Thank you for calling Stylehouse Salon. This is Robert, your scheduling assistant. How may I help you today?
Hey Robert, can I please schedule an appointment for Tuesday?
We have Tuesday 10 a.m., Tuesday 11 a.m., Tuesday 2 p.m., Tuesday 3 p.m., and Tuesday 5 p.m. What works better for you?
Let's do 11 a.m.
Great. Can I please get your full name for the appointment?
Kyle Friel.
Perfect, Kyle. You're all set for Tuesday at 11 a.m.
Sweet. No error messages. Let's check the calendar. There we are, 11 a.m. haircut appointment booked. So there's our agent. And obviously it's not perfect. There are definitely some easy improvements you can make right away. For example, instead of having the agent list out every single time slot for the day, you could make it ask what time of day the caller prefers, morning, afternoon, or evening, and then only show the most relevant options. You could also have it collect more caller information, like their email and phone number, and pass those along as additional parameters to the post-appointment tool. That way, you could automatically save that info to the Google Calendar event description, or even trigger a confirmation text or email later on. So even though this is a simple demo, there's a ton of room to expand and make it even more powerful. And then of course with Vapi, you're able to hook up phone numbers. So you can grab a phone number in Twilio for like $1 a month and hook it up here with some credentials, and you'll have your assistant ready to call anytime. I can make a part 2 to this video showing you how to connect the phone number properly, and then also how to make these agents more production ready. If you guys want to download this workflow template along with all of the other resources from this video, there's a link in the description to join my community where you can find it and download it for free. You'll join, find the video you're looking for, and then download the .json file, and then in n8n, you'll be able to click these 3 dots up top and click import from file and choose that .json file, and then you'll have the template ready to go. Like I said, the community is free to join, and it's a great place to network with like-minded people who are also interested in AI automation. Every time I upload a video to YouTube, I also upload the resources to the community, so they're always ready for you to download. So I'll see you in there. If you found this video helpful, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. If you want me to expand on this workflow or agent, or have any questions, let me know in the comments or in the community. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.